I was thinking. When I was a kid, I struggled to make sense of the world, or at least the human part of it. So much not only didn't make sense no matter where I looked or who I asked, I could never find real answers. Why were there ads on TV asking for donations for starving people, when in the UK we had comparatively so much more? Why were terrible things happening in places that my country had not long ago plundered and ruined, and why was there nothing more than a mention of this in between endless worship of ball kickers and professional pretenders? It wasn't even like the suffering across the world was filling our bellies were full, it was feeding rather the economy, that vague miasma that only slightly obscures the real beneficiaries. How wasn't this obvious? Everyone seemed to be on autopilot. Question a clear contradiction and you're just being difficult. I can be whatever I want to be. Okay, move over Charlie, there's a new king in town and my first decree is the Liverpool to Scarborough Canal/Lazy River. Also, first Fusiliers fix bayonets for taking back Normandy. When I was a kid, I thought I wanted to be a writer of fiction. Like, even if I just made enough to live, what a great life that would be. But no one reads books anymore, Georgie boy, especially not the deep sad crap about sentient wardrobes you're writing. What a bummer. Then I thought I wanted to be a filmmaker, but I found the industry toxic, filled by little narcissists who didn't have anything to say, their foothold so prevalent that it was the standard. Films that get made, films that get funded, are products, and filmmakers that aren't under any dead-end illusion, they're marketers. Who knew? Well, apparently not me. I couldn't really continue and keep my self-respect, and really, I can only pretend to like people for so long before it all becomes a trapped in here with me situation. And I have no demands. But I realise now, after 10 years on YouTube, what I really wanted was to understand, specifically the human realm. Why is it like this? Why do we keep repeating the same mistakes? Why is anything anything? And I think part of the reason I didn't understand this about myself was that there isn't an obvious vocation for what I wanted. A broad comprehension of why people keep electing showers of shit, why they keep crapping on their own plates, why they buy Pokemon cards. My current theory, with no scientific backing, just amusing really, is the theory of the power motive. There's more of that in my book, What I Is Writing. Estimated release? Maybe. People make decisions and behave in a way that facilitates their own power. I don't mean everyone's competing to be comptroller or secretly wishes they were Napoleon, but that a huge motivator of human behaviour is acquisition and retention of personal power. For many, this is expressed as profit-seeking, but it might be the power of just being respected in the community, the power of having some control over your own life, power to be meaningful, power to be free from primate dominance hierarchies that keep the young in the uniform and the poor angry at the poor. The other poor. Not my poor. Not my poor! But I also theorise that really it is the self-perceived notion of power that matters, and that goes hand in hand with denial. Go down to Canary Wharf or Wall Street and you'll see rich people walking right past the homeless. Turn on your TV and you'll see desperate appeals for human anguish, news reports and global warming, all the signs of the polycrisis becoming failure cascade, between commercials for big, dirty, classless cruises, worthless consumer goods, hawked by shameless creatives, no mainstream criticism of the hypocrisy, and endless shit. Seeing Walton Goggins in multiple Walmart commercials on the back of playing an already rich actor that made the terrible world-ending mistake of shilling for a big evil corporation, in a TV series produced by a big evil corporation, now criticised by me, a loser contractor for a big evil corporation, sure does elicit despair. Despair all the way down. But fuck Google, by the way. I mean, no, not that. Please, Daddy, please, not the banhammer. I have some really cool ideas for how you can make loads more money. Let's meet through the dark alley down by the river. Don't bring your phone. Trying to understand this dichotomy has driven me insane. Do you know that I'm insane? Can you tell that I'm insane? Fuck you. But there it is, if not most, the majority, or at least a minority powerful enough to keep the hypocrisy going, are entirely selfish. If they give to charity, if they pass legislation to ease poverty, it is most often to benefit themselves, even just psychologically, but surely with sociopaths like Altman, Musk, Gates, all the rest, it's just branding. In the waning democracies that still exist, if the electorate wanted to change this, if the people as whole in Britain or Belgium or America, who have lived so large compared to the rest of the world, actually gave a fuck, they would change this. But most people do not care. They do not vote for someone because of their stance on Haiti, their experience, their economic plans, or any of their views at all, but rather they vote for their own interests. Yes, the humanitarian crisis that has been Iraq for the last 20 years is the global North's fault, but do you really expect me to give up on the promise, the expectation of more? Yes, save all the starving babies, but only if you can keep gas prices steady. Yes, Trump is a grifter and a rapist and
a great admirer of children.
But I need to feel like I'm not at the absolute bottom of society, when really, I was never that close to the bottom anyway. Down here, we all float. I've suffered from depression my entire adult life, and for me, it's like living on a train that I have no influence over. Sometimes it comes to a station. I'm not sure how long it'll be there or how far it is until the next one. Most of the time the train is moving. When the train moves, I describe the general feeling of gnawing and constant mental anguish. I don't think that if I had never learned how the human realm broadly works, if I had never heard of the limits to growth, if I had been born on an island with no outside communication, that I wouldn't suffer from depression. The state of the world did not cause my depression. But still, when someone asks you your opinion on the Strait of Hormuz and you mention fertilizer and the wholesale famine that is, mathematically, very very likely in the next, 5 to 20 years, regardless of how that cauldron of narcissistic rage turns out, and they just look past you like you've got Tourette's and ask about the weather, that can be pretty depressing. When you are constantly reminded that our society values money and fame, to the point that if you have those things you can be the biggest piece of shit around and people will still lick your feet, when you realise that people, not all, but a hell of a lot, don't care about anyone else beyond platitudes, that can be pretty depressing too. The AMOC is, in geological timeframes, about to collapse. To maintain just 3% of growth, we have to mine the same amount of copper over the next 18 years than all of humanity has mined in the previous 10,000. The world economy is a paper house made from hope, lies, denial, and blood, and is just waiting for the right kick to blow it out. So, not all bad news. Why not just stop reading about it? Why not bang your head against the wall so you forget all the horrible things you know? Why not live in denial so you can continue to ruin the world? Kick the can down the road for someone else, and while you're at it, make sure to produce plenty of someone else's. The economy depends on it. What's the thinking here? Hey, walking the plank isn't so bad when you're blindfolded. You don't know when you're going to fall off. I'd rather make them shove me off while I'm shouting cunt and going on about succulent meals. My bouts, gulps, deluges of depression riding between the stations come on fairly randomly. Often, however, it feels like the appropriate response to the state of the world, not least its future prospects. I don't want people to be depressed, but I do wonder if the terrible state of the world made more people sad, we might be more inclined to fix it rather than live in the denial that we do. Hell, it's my problem for having empathy. Empathy, the seed of depression, it's our only way out. That and the proles. YouTube has helped me learn and understand. It has made me feel less alone, and so the positive message here, barf, is that if you feel similar, you're not alone either. Just in a totally impotent minority, helplessly watching in horror as it all comes true. Don't worry about me. I'm fine. Just a thought.